Hello and welcome to a brief overview of the 160 motorcars we've got going under the hammer at the incredible Imperial War Museum, Duxford on Wednesday, October the 9th. Hats off to James McWilliam and his team for assembling what is a truly diverse selection of motor vehicles. The oldest and newest are both American, the oldest being a 1902 Oldsmobile Curved Dash Model R runabout, which spent much of its early life in New York. It was brought over to this country by renowned collectors, the Ward brothers, and formed part of their museum before entering the current ownership. The vendor's gone through it, stem to stern, to make it a reliable contestant on the London to Brighton, and was hoping to persuade family members to run it on that event, but they've chosen otherwise, hence its reason for sale. At the other end, in terms of extremes and age, is the 2015 Ford Mustang 50th Anniversary Limited Edition. Those cars are special enough. They only made 1,964 to commemorate the birth year of the Mustang. And this one has been completely reworked and augmented with the likes of Fortis Vehicle Design and others contributing to what is a truly unique look. From its widened wheel arches to its scissors doors to its special paint, special interior and special alloy wheels, it certainly doesn't lack for visual drama. It's a fabulous looking thing that you really couldn't replicate for the guide price. We're fortunate enough to have two lead cars in this sale. The 1930 Bugatti Type 46 Wayman coach. It's a personal favourite of mine. It's a wonderful car. Just the most fabulous looking machine, especially given that a lot of Type 46s wore quite pedestrian, quite sort of cumbersome coachwork. This is truly elegant with its letterbox windscreen, its kick forward bulkhead panels. Everything about the car is just beautiful. It's got a wonderful known ownership history from new. It's a matching numbers car in terms of its chassis, its engine, its transaxle. The front axle is known to be of Molsheim manufacture, but not numbered that we could find. You've got that incredible Wayman coach body, well-documented history in the hands of some very famous collectors over time, and just a lovely thing. I have to admit that if I'd won the lottery, I would certainly be bidding for it. Another Grand Routier, although unashamedly English, is the 1957 Bentley S1 Continental Park Ward drop head coupe. Now that began life as one of 45 fixed head coupes, bodied to design number 701, but was converted by A&B Price to drop head coupe configuration. It was beautifully done, apparently modelled on a genuine drop head that they were restoring at the same time. It's indistinguishable to our eyes. The vendor has a magnificent collection of Bentley Continentals, really appreciates these coach-built mile munchers, and he has spent money to ensure that this car is capable of taking him wherever he wants. So it's had in the region of £200,000 spent on it, with much of the mechanical work being done by renowned specialist Paget motor engineers. It's been beautifully retrimmed by SimTrim, just gone through. It's a wonderful looking machine, very impressive in the metal. Talking of impressive machinery, we've got 4 cars entered from the Merlin collection, all of which are standout in terms of condition, history, everything. They are just wonderful and a real cut above what we would normally expect. So we have the 1937 Derby Bentley 3.5 litre Vanden Plas drop head coupe. Now this is a car that we've known for some time. We did actually sell it via one of our sales to the vendor in 2013. It's one that has covered less than 16,000 miles from new. It is exceptionally original. Most of the original paintwork, I would estimate something like 90%. The original upholstery, original carpets, fully matching numbers, all but one of the original leather gaiters to the underside. It's just incredible. The vendor lavished something like 1,500 hours on its recommissioning, and the attention to detail he went to was just incredible, and one I dare say that a professional restorer probably would not have gone to. From the same Merlin collection is the 1957 Mercedes-Benz 190 SL, a rare right-hand drive example. I believe there was something like 562 made in right-hand drive. It went through an exhaustive 3.5-year renovation, all photographically documented, back to bare metal, countless new parts on it, refinished in its unusual but very attractive anthracite grey metallic. Just a stunning looking car, the best right-hand drive one that we've encountered, and possibly the best right-hand drive one out there, but well worth a look. Also from the Merlin collection of the 1967 Aston Martin DB6. It's a car that spent some time in Japan, came back, and there's then subject to, again, an exhaustive, photographically documented restoration by marque specialist Richards of England, with bits of the body subcontracted out to body lines, etc., and Craig Taylor Engineering overhauling mechanicals. But I mean, it is just incredible. Very, very sharp, restored back to its original silver birch, although what was once black leather upholstery is now red to give it a little bit of visual pop. It's got a correct type ZF 5-speed manual gearbox in there. The engine has been overhauled and uprated to 4.2 litre Vantage specification, so it breathes via triple Webers, and it's got the Wilder cams and that sort of thing. But just a stunning looking car. It's covered less than 1,000 miles since the renovation was completed. The guide price wouldn't buy you the renovation, let alone the donor car. So if you're in the market for such a beast, well worth a look. The final entrant from the Merlin collection is a 1962 Jaguar E-Type semi-lightweight 3.8 litre coupe. Began life as a 3.8 litre home market road car, was uprated for competition usage in 2000, 2001, and has been reworked and developed since then. So it's competed at Zolder, it's competed at the Spa 6 Hours, it's competed at the Nürburgring, it's competed at Goodwood. It's got a Rob Beer engine in it, and that's an incredible unit. I mean, it's developing over 340 brake horsepower. There's a dyno sheet on file to that effect, but it's tractable. The vendor has actually enjoyed the car as a fast road car, so he's had the suspension recalibrated. He's even gone to the trouble of having a bespoke Space Saver peg drive alloy wheel made for it, and it's just beautiful. As sharp underneath as it is on top, and way better cosmetically than the majority of competition cars. It does still have an FIA historic technical passport, so could be put back to track use if somebody wanted, or as I say, enjoyed as the vendor has, as a seriously rapid and capable road car that will give many moderns a bit of a fright. Also in the sale, we have got a 1955 Austin Healey 100M. Now that's unusual because it was a BN1 spec car. As you'll know, the vast majority of 100Ms are BN2s, but this apparently was dispatched straight to the Healey Motor Company from the production line, where it was uprated to so-called Le Mans spec with the improved engine and whatnot. It's then understood to have gone to the Bahamas to take part in the Nassau Speed Week. So when the first UK owner came across the car in 1958, he found it in Nassau, albeit a little bit the worse for wear, and painted British Racing green and yellow. Brought it back to the UK in 1958, enjoyed it as a road car, took it off the road for a number of years. It's been owned by a number of Healey luminaries over the time and been extensively restored and brought back to its former glory. We're told it is a matching numbers car in terms of the chassis and engine, and it's typical Healey in ice blue over Old English white. It's got the improved BN2 4-speed manual gearbox. It's got overdrive operated off the gear lever. Just a wonderful car with a great history behind it. So that's well worth a look, and something that my colleague Lucas thoroughly enjoyed driving. We've also got a 1939 Fraser-Nash BMW 327/80 Cabriolet. Now, the pre-war BMWs, certainly in terms of up to 2 litres, were the class of the world. The 328, there wasn't anything that could touch it in the up to 2 litre class, and in fact it would embarrass and humble machinery with engines 2, 3, 4 times the size. It is one of just 19 UK supplied right-hand drive cars built. It was part of BMW UK's own historic fleet from 2015 to 2022. It's previously been extensively restored by TT Workshops, who are a Fraser Nash BMW and Bristol specialist. It has been gone through, and as you can see from the accompanying video, has a surprising turn of speed for a pre-war car. Don't be put off by the pre-war looks. You've got a much more modern driving experience. In terms of significant motor cars from a more modern era, we've got the 1970 Ford Escort Mexico. Now, this is understood to be the oldest surviving AVO, Advanced Vehicle Operations, car. This is from Ford's total performance era, when they were just spending. They wanted to leave their hallmark on motorsport globally, and they would just spend and spend and spend. So it's the same program that brought us the Ford GT40, brought us the Lotus Cortinas, gave us the Ford Escort and all that sort of thing, the Holman Moody Galaxy NASCARs. I mean, just incredible commitment to motorsport by Ford. This particular Escort Mexico is unusual in that it was built in October 1970, even though Mexico production didn't officially begin till November that year. It carries one of the LVX Ford press car registration numbers. It has been exhaustively restored again, I think to the tune of about £60,000. A very, very important surviving early AVO car. In fact, the oldest known surviving AVO car, and a Mark 1 Escort to boot. So that is really one for a blue oval collector. In terms of vehicles which are equally historic for their manufacturer, we have a 1980 Lotus Esprit Essex Turbo. Now, it would be an unusual car in and of itself, in that it's believed to be the earliest Essex Turbo built, but it was retained by Lotus, having been loaned to the DeLorean Motor Company for a little bit, but retained by Lotus and then used as a test mule for active suspension. Not active suspension for road cars per se, but active suspension for their Formula One efforts. So a very, very, very advanced car in its day. Wonderful looking. It's got much of the original paint there, the original upholstery, the original high-tech stroke sort of Star Trek dashboard that the engineers would have referred to. The vendors are true Lotus enthusiasts. The father and son between them, again, have spent something like £60,000 on the project. So it's an enormously historic car, a very, very interesting vehicle. And again, just in terms of contemporary 80s, 90s Formula One designs and active suspension and the all-conquering cars that the likes of McLaren and Williams came up with, and Lotus were among the vanguard for that active suspension. So a very, very important and impressive car. Rather less high-tech, but still very, very interesting, is the 1969 Morgan Plus 8 race car that is an ex-Lawrence Tune machine. Again, if you're a Morgan aficionado, you will know that Chris Lawrence was pretty much almost the unofficial works department for Morgan, extracted performance levels out of the Plus 4 that nobody really thought were capable. I mean, you're talking about a car with a separate chassis and an ash frame and lightweight bodywork. So to make that into something that was class competitive at Le Mans was no mean undertaking. This one was owned by a former Lawrence Tune employee, so it's got great provenance behind it. It was raced in period. I believe it won something like 25 races or more between 71 and 76. So just a very, very historic car, eligible for all sorts of great events, and again, well worth a look. For those who are on a slightly more modest budget, we've got no fewer than 23 cars that have been entered without reserve, and they range all the way from a 2008 Fiat 500 Ferrari dealer edition, so a bit of one-upmanship there. You don't have a Mini by Cooper, you have a Fiat by Ferrari. They built 200 of them for use as sort of service cars for the various Ferrari dealerships. They made the Ferrari dealerships buy them, that was compulsory, but they did find favour. They've got a little 1.4 litre turbocharged engine, manual gearbox. I believe there are only 60 that came to the UK, and they are increasingly sought after, so that is a very collectible modern hot hatch. No reserves also include a 1934 Bentley 3.5 litre James Young drophead coupe, so quite the range there. And that Derby, again, well worth having a look. an elegant pre-war Grand Tourer. Although for a lot of people looking at the no reserve offerings, they won't be able to take their eyes off or get past the 1967 Jaguar Mark X 4.2 that was bought by none other than Madonna for her son Rocco Ritchie and for him to use in the UK, both around London and on tours out to the country and that sort of thing. So it might look like an escapee from one of his father, Guy Ritchie's films, but it's had quite a lot of work in Rocco Ritchie's ownership, including a bare metal repaint and attention to the engine and installation of a reversing camera and all that sort of thing. But it's had a photo shoot done with Madonna herself and been garaged at Madonna's London home for Rocco's convenience. So that's a very, very interesting car with a really, really impressive provenance, as is the 2001 Aston Martin Vanquish. That was one of 7 Vanquishes as part of Aston's own press fleet, but really rose to prominence and came to fame and is still a car you can find pictured absolutely all over the internet and referenced in magazines and newspapers on, if not a daily, probably a weekly basis, because it was loaned by Aston Martin to Eon Productions for a photo shoot with Pierce Brosnan ahead of his last outing as 007, Die Another Day. It was chosen because it's in the same colours as the movie cars, so that's tungsten silver with black leather upholstery. It's been in the current Aston Martin enthusiast ownership for the vast majority of its life and formed part of a really impressive collection. He's had it exhibited at shows up and down the length and breadth of the country, used it to lead the vanguard of cars on the opening day of the M6 Toll motorway. Great history behind it, I believe about 38,000 miles, and just incredible in terms of that Bond provenance. An important car in Aston history, and this one doubly, trebly, quadruply so in terms of the Pierce Brosnan and Bond provenance. So great, great fun. We will be open for view at the Imperial War Museum, Duxford, on Tuesday, October the 8th from 12 until 6. Doors open again on sale day, Wednesday the 9th from 9 o'clock. The auction will start at 1 p.m. and we would expect it to be finished by about 6:30. As ever, if you've got any questions about any of the cars going under the hammer, please don't hesitate to contact us, either on email via info@h&h.co.uk or via the telephone 01925 210 035. You're welcome to bid in person, via the telephone or online, but please be aware online bidding attracts additional 1% surcharge, 1% plus VAT. We'd love to see you there. We hope you agree it is a wonderful, wonderful cross-section of vehicles and it promises to be an exciting sale. Thank you.